public participation. Do we have any, do we have any public, participation?
Any public? Raquel left. Can you see if there's anybody on there?
So you still got Tina on here?
Yes, is there anybody else?
No,
Just Tina,
just Tina.
okay. So it looks like there's no public on there.
Okay.
Looks like Raquel came back,
Raquel's back. She's trying to come back.
trying to.
You lost her again.
Okay, we'll have you no public, we've got next item, the approval of the minutes.
Thank you.
Approval of the minutes. Last time we postponed the minutes.
There was three.
There was three, roughly three now, so.
August 31st, September 18th, and October 2nd.
I'll do it for the first two, but I wasn't here for the third.
Okay. Do we have seconds?
Second, first two,
Do all three seconds?
but here was.
Oh, I'll second the one. Second. All in favor? Aye. Moving on to the architects, we're doing order.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Since we last met, first of all, it's nice to see everybody in person. Since we last met, we've been working on our review comments, anticipating reissuing a set for October 20th. We also solidified our date for pre-bid performance review with the state for November 16th, 15th, the Wednesday morning. Yeah, November 15th. That happened today. So we're working backward from that date to align with all of the regular meeting schedules for formal approval, the approval from the building committee, as well as the BOE for the 100% construction documents. And obviously, the bulk of tonight's meeting, Adam will be able to go through regarding value engineering, value management. Nothing much else to report.
Can I interrupt?
Yeah.
Can we go back over the who did what minutes? I didn't write it down and Raquel didn't catch it because she fell off. Who approved the minutes? Was it Woody?
I made a motion for the first two.
Amanda did the third.
That's Sharon.
Second, Paul?
Third. No. Bob did the first two, and then Bob did the third. Yeah.
So Woody and Bob,
Amanda and Sharon.
Amanda and Sharon did the third.
Yep.
All right, and everyone voted in favor. Everybody was unanimous. Got it, and you're unanimous. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, 14. So I think, to the CM, Nick, do you want to update us on where you guys are?
Yes, so phase one, which is the early procurement, bidding process for the electrical switchgear, the generator, direct, dedicated outdoor air unit, and the water pipe, should be going out to bid tomorrow. It doesn't hit the street tomorrow, it'll go out the street Thursday. Looking at about a 3-week turnaround on that, so we're going to have this back beginning of November. In terms of the balance of the project, referring to as phase two, the building and the site, working through the schedule now, and the schedule together for that. In addition, site logistics is significantly more detailed as the drawings have come together, it gives us a better indication of where we can plant things on site. Storage and construction laydown, parking areas, temporary parking, and site trailers and things like that. So that's starting to come together as well. And then after tonight, the BE items are selected. Better idea of what's going in this building, but maybe changing, and we'll develop our bid package structure. It's pretty rough outline right now, how we plan on buying out the jobs. So, Justin's team has multiple disciplines of plans. It's dozens and dozens of specifications. And we buy those, package those up individually, and put those out to bid individually with the phase two packages. The process is a lot that kind of goes into figuring how we need to buy things out, how we need to package it up. A lot of it has to do with schedule. A large component of this market especially is how to kind of buy it most efficiently. And then from there, we'll take, over the next few weeks, we'll take our proposed bid package breakdown and estimated values for those bid packages and send that off to the CHRO, the Council of Rights and Opportunities, for their weigh in on what they think we need to tweak one of the package here or create another package there to maximize minority and small businesses. That's what we have really throughout the rest.
Steve, the estimate for phase one package? Approximately.
I was gonna say 1.7, 1.8 maybe.
Any questions? Did you guys make a person here?
This is an easy one to be in person.
So moving on to OPM update, you want to say the VE stuff for later and just give high level?
Just the only thing I would add is to the sort of timeline of events for phase one. So the bids will come in after 3 weeks, but there's a couple of weeks of going through it, reviewing the packages, coordinating and all that. So there probably won't be something to put forward in terms of the number into November, something like that.
Yeah, I think just because it's only a couple of packages, we should have ironed out pretty quick. Let's say within a week, whole scope of use with the low bidders, potentially the second bidders as well. Make sure that they've captured all the scope that's needed. Make sure that it's pretty straightforward. Think of procurement only package, all three of them. And so at that point, yeah, within a week after bids, very firm understanding what the value of those packages are, and then roll that, pushing forward is balance of the distance.
So basically, once, as Justin mentioned, we got the November 15th, our date with the Office of Grants Administration. So after that, there's always some documentation seen up with the state before they give the go ahead to go out to bid with your package. But effectively, there's a bit of a transition back and forth between phase one for bid, and we're looking at phase two. Phase two will get to a stopping point. We'll go back and work on the contract finalization with phase one in mid to late November, and then the bidding process for phase two. So I know I've mentioned it before, but discussions of contracting that phase one package and understanding where the risks are and the procurement outlay is, that's a discussion will become in November once this phase two package is finalized on the board. Otherwise, that's sort of the bulk of where we're at right now. Everyone's kind of goes to the grindstone on DE and documents and everything. So the bulk of my talking at the moment here on the spreadsheet.
The schedule for the next time.
Well, we're talking about the schedule afterwards.
Yeah, okay, moving on to item number 5.
All right, so as was provided in the packets, the cleaned up version of the VB log, and I'll try to let me know if you can't see anything with the crosshairs here on the screens, but it's largely the same as what was shown at the last meeting. Some of the values have been updated, either up or down, just after some of the clarifications we've gone through with TechDon and Gilbane and myself, and some of the sub-consultants to make sure there wasn't overlap in scopes, as well as just getting some updated numbers and pricing. In terms of the bottom line, as I mentioned to in the email to the SBC, but I'll reiterate here, the deficit currently between the construction budget and the reconciled CD estimate is just over 1.85 million. If you accept every single value engineering item above it would total 1.9 in savings. So that would mean there would be no more deficit. But as I've alluded to, there's a lot of items in here that are more difficult to ask, perhaps, or they have substantial increases. In terms of the breakdown, again, the intent was to try to right size the VE package to the deficit. It gets very hard to put things back in, so you don't want to just take a hatchet to everything right up front. But at the same time, want to make sure that there's a good alignment between the budget and the probable cost moving forward. So this number should be at or near zero as possible. So that way we can confidently move forward into what the phase is. Any questions before we start?
Just maybe a general discussion among the committee. So obviously, ideally we get to the bottom line, but I mean, do we want to discuss how close we feel comfortable getting, just we're, focused? I mean, would you say if we get to 1.75, we're close enough for government work? I mean, how much, obviously you just go down and say, yes, no, would that,
Right, I would say that, if this number down here is $500,000, I would strongly caution the committee to.
I'm sure. No,
But yes, if it's, 100, there have been projects that have gone with 100,000.
agree to disagree at that point.
Right,
Yeah.
and have been successful. So I think that's maybe the flavor of what the.
Close, but we don't have to knock out every single item.
Right, there's no law that says this number has to be exactly zero or it can't go up.
Any questions?
But there's really not.
No, there's not much room to go, but if you have something you particularly feel strongly about, it's not like you can't, if you sacrifice one, you gotta get the other one out. So there's some, I mean, it's only, and then it's only estimate. The bid will determine what it really is. Relying on the expertise, but it's gonna be, it's pretty close to that. And even after the bid, it doesn't say we can't, it's painful, but we can't pull a few things, out if we had to. Worst case, I mean, ideally, within 1%, maybe the upper down, we may take more out, or maybe we didn't have to take everything we took out.
To that point, though, it's very painful and difficult to feed once the bids are in it.
I just say, there's something you feel strongly about, maybe there's a chance, it's painful to the architect to take it out now. And feel strongly, and I would like your input, if you feel strongly about something.
So I guess I'll start by saying, I think the focus in as a team has been to not do anything that affects curriculum space, right? And the instructional environment. I mean, if you were to ask me, there's a reason why we put things in documents as well. So each one of these things comes with a bit of a trade-off, but for the most part, this is more, we'll go through the aesthetics of everything. We are where we are in the budget, and the important thing is to make sure that students have a great curriculum, a great classroom environment, great curriculum space. And, this is where we need to put on our big boy pants and recognize that we can't fight for everything. But if there are questions that arise, we'll be happy to answer.
So in other words, pedagogically, you were okay with what's on there.
And pedagogically, we're okay with what's on. If there's an argument for a lot of finished stuff,
Right,
but,
right.
we are where we are. So, but
Okay, and if it was something you felt like within the world, you wouldn't have.
Discussion, and Graham, I guess, there are items here that once we make a decision to accept them, can't be redone. That's the way that the building will be. There are others that may need to be completed. That are like just partially, just example of the EV charging stuff. I'd like to make sure we're aware of what the items that would need to be completed at some future date will cost relative to what we're saving. Because that may affect our decision on something like that. Just again, to the EV charging conduit, if later on it's going to require digging up things and it's going to cost 5 times more than we're saving, we may not be saving intelligence. We may want to go to something else, and it'd be good to know those things in this process.
There's absolutely a strategy to going through these. Timing has a lot to do with it. It's something, basic example, we've reduced the number of trees. Is that something that if you had money at the end of the project, we can buy more trees and just plant them as they're shown in drawings now? That would probably be a pretty decent solution to that, but there's others that have to have it up front and cost to add them in later. As a change, roofs don't work. And
Let's forget about it. Okay.
To your point, what is that is something that when we developed the scope of each of these, so I think back to, one of the alternates with the scoreboard or dishwasher, typically the infrastructure backup will maintain exactly to your point to avoid have it open everything up. So EV chargers, the conduit, and the space on the panel is there, so it's a function of.
So what are we believing there is, as that, using that as the example?
Using the chart as an example, that one was a DD that came up, where the base scope was intended to be provide conduit panel space, site box only, and not the physical charger, not running the wire out there. So this was a little bit odd because it had been previously discussed, it just didn't get updated on the drawing.
Oh, so that's, we already thought that was logical.
These three are
Okay.
sort of pretty.
It's just start with D.
Yeah. Yeah, these are, I strongly recommend you write with
We saw that. at D.
We might as well mark that accepted.
Get a good start.
The only other thing I would say, just from a procedural standpoint, prior DE logs, one of the ways that the group had sometimes wanted to think about it, was there anything that sparked no, we don't want to do this, or we want to delve into it further and accept the rest, or is it the group's disposition to go through each of these, just decide yay or nay?
Gosh,
I think we can move through pretty quickly. I don't know.
I think so too.
I'm
Graham.
prepared for
And
that.
we don't have a lot of options here.
Yeah, no, we maybe postpone 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I don't know, maybe 0.
The bathroom, just starting at the top then. Bathroom walls along the corridor, appropriate infrastructure for the larger wall. Brought up last time, this is where there's effectively sort of two walls next to each other, some of the bathrooms, so technically consolidated.
Except
The media center at the hallway. So this is, I'll bring up the image here. This particular item is for, you see the A2s, where currently there's glazing shown. This is at the media center looking out into the hallway. So the idea is to maintain the shape by having it be just drywall that's a bit recessed, still matches the aesthetic, but not have the glaze itself. And then A3, which I'll flip back to in a moment, is to reduce the height of this large curtain wall area. I think I still refer to the large glazed area between the media center and the hallway. And that, let me check this, those are A2 and A3.
reducing the height, from the top down, or is this one over the top of the building?
This
Base
is
of that.
for A3. This is, I just took a section here that the initial concept, Justin can elaborate, might be to have the volume match the line of the heads here, so it kind of shrink, but it is to eliminate some square footage of glass.
Yeah, and it makes sense likely to keep basically reduce the head height of the overall assembly.
Right.
So that you maintain as much natural light coming through that space at the level that we would like to do.
Yeah, so in actuality, this would look more like this, I apologize. Yes. For math is how that would go.
And the A2 on either side will still have our bench recesses there. It just won't be glazed from the media center side. There will still be ample transparency in the media center as well as natural light.
And so those two are 26,000 and 28,000 respectively for the curved the big wall.
Any discussion? Accepted.
A4, not really a great image, it's for the media center at the courtyard. So currently on either side of the courtyard, one's in the media center, one is actually in the hallway on the other side. There is storefront glazing, that's currently has a premium to it, so the idea is to provide just standard insulated glazing there.
So what we had specified in the documents is that the security glazing. So it's glazing that we have indicated in the documents that any at-grade glazing has a security glazing, intruder resistance. So a very animated or aggressive individual takes them up to 10 minutes to penetrate the glazing. We have it on the interior of a courtyard. Any ambitious person would have to first scale the side of the building, go over the roof, and then into the courtyard. So from a practicality standpoint, it's not really a target where we would say that we need security glazing.
Little template or some laminate or something to that effect. It's not like a tap on glass in the shadow.
Yeah, it's going to need to be tempered based on its proximity to the floor.
Can we reserve this, Graham, until we see where we are? And if I had my druthers, I'd vote to keep it, but, nothing is more important than safety, and stranger things have happened than the person scaling the wall.
I'll highlight that. Continuing the theme of glazing, the interior, the gym at the north and south main floor hallways. So we're talking about these locations here, the cursor here. Effectively, what those are, this is just one of those, but they're large storefronts there and there, with some smaller ones at this location. So the idea is to maintain some of the functionality of having a view in, but removing the larger panes to capture the savings on either side. There's skylights above. I believe there's those corridors. It's not a daylight transmission glazing. It's just sort of a view in, maintain the connection between the hallways and the gyms. And that's a $38,000 savings.
Any discussion? Accept.
This next one in gray, I wanted to follow up because it came up in discussion. I think this might have been something that Seth and Sharon had spoken to with regard to the some of the glazing between the steam and VA rooms and the respective hallways. So this is the steam room to the south here. This is the visual arts room to the north here. This grayed out version is this A6. You see in between those rooms, the cap. We've talked about potentially having a raised sill height to avoid some of the disorientation potentially or safety or whatnot. Just in terms of those two locations, because they're higher up on the calf and there's the acoustic materiality on either side, looking through, there really wasn't cost savings by introducing the glazing in those. It can still be implemented on a functional basis if that's the choice of the group to help avoid some of that disorientation of the child in class looking out over second floor space. But in terms of cost savings, there's not much longer.
Looking down into the gym.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking, is that the same issue with the gym? Because
That's where
I thought
that's where you brought it up from.
It's this situation would also apply to these single pane windows here. Again, no savings. It could be done as part of a right.
I don't mind it going to the floor. I mean, I don't know. I think it. Well, I'm not going to, which would have been safe, but I don't know.
That doesn't necessarily need to be decided. I think there's an inclination that guide the design team to do their updating the drawings, but I wanted to respect the conversation and bring it back even though there wasn't.
Yeah, there's a couple of places like that in the library, which is kind of why people seem to be drawn to that particular location. I think these are, adults, but, and it's kind of a wow, when you have a floor to ceiling height window anywhere.
How strong do you feel about it?
I mean, I do have a concern with some kids who have either a fear of heights or just, might get, queasy or something when they get too close to that window. Because those are higher up spaces, looking down into a huge gym. But I don't want, I mean, this is not educational, and I don't want my opinion on that to influence what you guys do.
Even the high school, the bridge in high school is floor to ceiling glass, right? I don't know if anybody's ever had expressed any concern. I mean, that would be an example where.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing with kids, they also will sit on the floor and be able to look out, which I think is part where we have them especially are in the alcoves that are, well, first of all, we already have a sill in the visual arts room and the STEAM room. So whether or not that sill is at 12 inches or 36 inches, I don't think it necessarily matters to those particular ones. Where we have them go down to the floor on the gymnasium, we just eliminated 2 of the main offenders. I would argue for at least the ones that are remaining to maintain those floor to ceiling windows or floor to head height.
I mean, I'm sure a kid who's not comfortable with it will just go to the middle of the hall. and
Well,
walk
it
away.
was the other side.
So that's, again, that's not not that important.
I'll go back to the spreadsheet in a moment, but A7, the next one, that is between the hallway and STEAM and the hallway and VA. So following the discussion at the last meeting of trying to reduce glazing where possible, the scopes here are reduced by 1 pane at each of them, but still maintain the overall large view into those spaces that's been discussed for a while. So at those 2 spaces, the combined is 6,000, just 1 pane at each.
Was that right?
The next one, stairwell 1. This is another follow-on from the last meeting. We talked about glazing, and there was a suggestion at this stair tower to the south to potentially reduce the exterior glazing. The design team initially looked at something up higher as part of the overall function of the stair tower to minimize the glazing but still maintain most of the impact. Looking at the values yesterday, that didn't yield savings just because it's so high up to try to have multiple trades, putting up brick, putting up the wall section and whatnot. So the value that's shown there is to eliminate the lower painted glazing. Even then, to eliminate this on this side and then the turn around the corner is only a $6,800 savings. They're talking with Tim from Tecton, their project architect. There's the effect of eliminating those 2 panes would be to basically have no glazing on the first floor, so you'd have to walk all the way up and be on the second floor to have any glazing. So he wanted this all caps here as a reminder, also to myself, to share that. Dustin, I don't know if you want to add to that or on that.
Well, yeah, if you can go back to the elevation, so the dash line, the dash dot line that goes across is the height of the second floor or the main level. You go from that level down to a landing at that exterior wall. So
Doors going out there, do they go into the building or to the exterior?
both, they go into
Are
the
they
building.
glass or they solid?
They're The ones that come out of the stairwell are solid. The ones that go, yeah, they're solid there.
Going
So-
outside,
Yeah,
should they be glass or do they have to be solid for fire rating?
I believe it was, well, I think we are still the glass. I'll have to,
Because if you have glass went into the door, that would let some light in.
yeah, but what we're saying is that, if you're going to remove, glazing from this area, because you see A12 at the top.
Yeah.
One of our value management proposals is to basically
Chop that off.
chop that off. So I think we can lower the head height of that glazing to match the head height of the adjacent windows to the right. So you would still, at both the main floor level and the landing level of the stairs, you would still have some transparency out of the stairs. So I think this is a get, but I just think it's a little bit different.
If you were to clarify that basically what you had shown was not identical. Okay. The materials, yes, but these are the labor costs for that higher
Yeah.
portion.
By reducing the glass, that the top of that stairwell falls, depending on what the finished material is on the outside, so it's drywall on the inside. That finished ceiling, then how do you incorporate those trades to get up that one small area? The cost of that these metal panels application is probably some high job, so probably most cost effective to meet those, if there is anything there.
Basically, that this is one of
We're
the
just taking
the less recommended ones. I think is what the rest I got from
Can we
this.
circle that like we circled the other one?
Yeah. Next item, the canopy. So this is effectively to change the canopies that you see here from a wood decking is currently shown, which is a actual wood deck with a intumescent coating for fire resistance. Changing from that to a dovetail metal decking that's not going to look like the corrugated ones you see in a warehouse. It's dovetail, almost like a acoustic realistic flat seams from the other side. So that materiality change is just under $300,000.
I say we put that in. That's a big number.
Any more of those laying around?
Yeah.
He's looking for the 1.8.
Yeah.
Check the sofa.
A10 and A11, A12, when I flip back, are all in similar sheets for $45,000, $66,000, and $15,000 respectively. A10 is for the 600 square foot reduction in the canopies. It's either sort of targeted. Justin, you want to talk to what that does, or more importantly, what it doesn't do to.
Yeah, I mean, it may, so first of all, we haven't updated the switch to have the canopy space the other way at the entrance. That's one of our, that's one of the things that we're updating pending these decisions. Is you still maintain the area of our pickup and drop off, an extended canopy at the main entrance to help signify the intent that we heard at ACA of providing some hierarchy at the main entrance and providing the same architectural language, but reducing it back closer to the building for the other three kind of main entrances. And yeah. I think that's
All those orange items are the reduction line item for A9. I'm sorry, for A10. For A11, that's the pre-K canopy we discussed last time. The value of that is shown is slightly different, so that way it's separate from the materials one that you all just approved. So it's a standalone value for that canopy. And then the A12 is that Justin previously mentioned the canopy type, roof from the stair tower. Here. And so again, the 600 square foot reduction is 45,000. The pre-K standalone canopy value is 66, and the stair tower one is 15. To Woody's point earlier about sort of what putbacks would be, obviously the reduction in canopy and the stair tower one would be something that we try to fix later. But based on the conversations last meeting and a few meetings ago with Sharon, the idea here is that this pre-K canopy, that might want to be something more artistically designed or somewhat local or something like that. We capture that in our contingency log as part of tracked future owner betterments, and then be done separately or what have you, but donated or gifted or what have you, right? So it wouldn't just fall away to the ether, it'd be along and consistently from
Could the funds we're getting, the reimbursements be used for that if it's not part of the project?
It's a gray area. What we could do, like the library, it receive donations, or we could do fundraisers or
Something, yeah. We'll look at the options there.
Yeah, it was actually back.
Could be something to keep on for.
Yeah.
Figure. And it's enough money to.
All three, yeah. Gotta have it.
moving to the interior. This A13, A14 are at ceilings. A13 is the item that we looked at last time of those more expensive Tectum ceiling panel material, switching it over to the acoustic ceiling tile that's throughout the building. And then A14 is at the corridor between the media center and the cafe. So bringing those up. A13 is typically at the highlighted red areas. There are more areas of the building at the entrances that have that, but I think the snapshot is representative. It's simple. So everything that's red is that A13 number. A14, here you have your media center, and you have your cafeteria area here. And these areas are in this, the hallway here is a type of gypsum acoustic that's kind of bigger noise reduction coefficient designed into it. So this is the one that I brought up last time and mentioned that the group might want to be sure wants to take it in terms of the value and savings there, because you have a loud area here, a quiet area here, and a big thoroughfare with entrances. So again, it's viable to take. It's just it's harder to put back in once it's taken out. It does have an interesting
How
impact.
tall are the ceilings in those areas? That were
10 feet.
9 feet.
9 feet there, yeah.
So they're not super tall. So actually, wouldn't the noise be more in the gym and cafeteria where the ceiling's higher?
So yes, but we have acoustic wall treatment on the corresponding walls as well as acoustic deck.
So the increase to noise would be minimal in a 9-foot ceiling then. I mean, it's still gonna be an acoustical tile, it's just not as acoustic. Is that what the difference is?
Correct.
Yeah, so traditionally it's like that.
And where are those areas again? I'm sorry, two red squared areas, right? A14.
The
Yes.
corridor outside on either side of the cafeteria.
It's not the biggest.
The corridor outside.
I think corridors are loud anyway. Noise from the cafeteria. Different noisy places.
Part of it is also experiences in the school now that's constructed, where it's not just about the cafeteria getting out, but also noise accumulation within the cafeteria, because it's a loud place. So
Yeah.
I understand why the focus on trying to put acoustic material around it, trying to take it wherever you can.
Yeah,
Can we yellow it?
yeah, that might be a circle.
And then on the other one, the 42,000 for the deck and ceiling.
So we go ahead and accept that one. That's not it.
Words like Disney Gray.
Okay, good.
Got it.
Speak up, yeah.
Moving to the walls, this first one is at the multi-stall bathrooms. Currently, it has full height tile throughout. Idea is rather than have full height throughout, just have full height at the main wet wall with the sinks, and at the remaining walls, have it come down to above the, just above the partition height, and then have it be just painted. Front wall above that.
Come on, person.
Graphic wall protection for 70,000.
They're so cool. I really like that. Oh, well, but they are luxury units.
So they are sporadically throughout. So I didn't have every single highlighted location, but the rendering you saw.
Yeah.
Whatnot. It's an expensive on a square foot cost basis.
Yeah.
So the idea is to match the tile on the bottom. I'm sorry, I painted wall above.
Let me tell you what I really think. Yes. You'll never know.
It would still maintain the tackable wall coverings, because that's a cheaper unit cost, and then basically on a street basis, more or less aligns with the other portion of the walls that was maintained in.
So instead of the graphic, you're gonna put the tackable surface instead?
Right now, its price is to match the rest of the halls.
Are the tackable surfaces more expensive?
I think these were, they're gonna be on the, was it like 13 square foot?
Versus what the tile and the other thing?
The painted drywall is about 30 square foot.
The tile is
The
what?
tile is like 24 to 28.
So, and what would you say the tackable was 30?
The tackable, I think, it's looking up, I recall it was something like 13.
So can we did tackable instead of the graphic wall? Is that something that could be easily changed out in the future? If it can't make more money? Is the substrate the same? That's what I'm trying to get at, I guess, for the tackable surface
There's
versus
a
the.
slightly higher finish to it, but that's something that could be added.
So instead of doing the tile, then you don't want to rip out the tile to put that in. So if you did that as tackable surface there, it became into more money because you do the really nice graphic one.
Can we do a bid alternate and make it more complicated?
Instead of paying the ass.
For that,
Like wow things. I thought those.
Yeah.
were-
yeah, I mean, we're,
Those were-
we're getting into the territory of ones that, yeah, there's a reason for some branding and some
Right.
personalization of the space, but, you know, I suppose if it was just a straight base of tackable wall cover, I mean, I guess my question to Nick was, is that assembly cheaper than the tile and paint above?
The tackable wall.
Yeah.
The tackable wall is around half the price of the tile. $14,
But it's probably like 6 times more than patient sheet rock.
So it'll
Yeah.
balance out. It's
Yeah, another thought would be to still carry the tile over the basic graphic wall.
Yeah. I like the way that looks. I just have voices. Sorry. Sorry.
Is the tackable stuff gonna hold up? Like, you know, that's a concern, right? People
No, it's pretty tall.
dragging the stickers on it.
That low. Yeah.
What do you think, Justin?
Well, I mean, I think we have a reality of where our budget is. However, you know, if there's a way that we can build in an alternate, we can certainly look at
What would graphic be, like tiger or something?
No, when we were there, they showed us pictures of, in some of the walkthroughs, there were pictures, and it's like this, it goes with the beach theme that our school is in, and what was like this sand, it was so cool. It was, yeah, and then like trees and things like that. I mean, it's just, it's a, I think it's something that really softens the space, that really, just, it's really cool. It would be like you said, a real signature kind of thing to have in a school.
Yes, maybe we should take it, but we'll consider it, if we get an alternate or something.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
if
something
we,
that's
if we,
simple.
let's see, like, if we keep it a tackable wall surface, then it's the same sort of structure. If, to switch it out to this wall covering versus the tackable might be an easier switch. You know, to what Woody was saying, if you're not going in and ripping out tile bed, you know, you're just ripping out the tackable wall and put in the thing, or not putting in the tackable. You know, I wonder if we can figure out what the cost differential from the graphic to attackable as opposed to from the graphic to the tile sheetrock. Is it a $30,000 savings instead of 70?
Well, yeah, I guess I agree with what you're saying, but my hesitation is like, however.
We might, maybe it's so underbid. It's so competitive.
But then we could literally reprice it at that point. If we were in a
It's
good
one of the last
place.
things we're gonna do.
Right, we just reprice the, have them remove the tile from it, because the tile's the last thing to go up.
All right.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, and changes like that was pretty straightforward in terms of certain square footage of tile coming out, certain square footage of graphic going back in, back and going back in. It's usually pretty easy to quantify in terms of change order pricing. Not to say you're gonna get a bid day price on the ad or the graphic, but it's easier to quantify than say.
So why not make it an alternate then?
Yeah, I think they will look at it, just, you'll look at that and see if it makes sense.
It doesn't make sense, I understand. that.
Yeah, but even if it goes to an alternate,
15,000
we can negotiate it,
So,
5 or 10% premium. And we'll know exactly how much money we have. We'll spend a
Is
lot of
it
time discussing what those images look like.
Oh, I know.
It'll be
Is it
a year,
You bet.
So it's just easier to take it out, is what you're saying? Okay.
Tina was saying something.
Tina wants to say something, I think.
Sorry. Is it a space where like a local artist could maybe do a mural as a less expensive option to still have something unique? I can't see the board. I don't know what the other option looked like, but
Well, there wasn't really an image to see.
okay.
So, yeah, I don't know, how well would the wall protection of the mural, so.
So part of the issue is that we need to, I mean, these walls, if left unprotected, are going to
Trash.
be a maintenance item in short order. Within a month, you're
Right.
going
Oh, I
to
know.
be patching your walls. So the graphic wall protection is basically doing the same duty that the tile, the tile wainscoting. is.
Right.
So,
So I'm not sure, Tina, if a mural would give the same protection on the wall, it would give the same beauty as the graphic, but not necessarily protection.
Got it.
Just a heads up, the graphic wall protection carries a pretty hefty lead time. So if that was something that you wanted to pull the trigger on, in March, we might be up against it, just getting it installed. So how likely or
It's
willing you
over
are
a year, I
to
mean,
make a decision on that earlier in the job? That's certainly up to you, but it's not a simple, put it in as tackable wall covering.
right,
By that time, we'll have bought and probably have on site and tackle wall coverings. Credit on that is going to be nothing. And we might have a lead time issue trying to grab it.
I let it for now. Go back and look at all our-
There you go. There you go.
Just maybe we don't need one.
I like it. Let's go back.
Like the SAT.
$7 grand.
It's big. Staying with the hallway wall finish topic, there is, at the doorways, there is a hard stop material that's, again, it's a differentiate, it's a different type of wall protection, but it's also a pricier one. So the scope there is to replace this hard stop with Currently, it's priced as either a tile or an aggregate type product. I think, if you were saying that the aggregate is probably the lesser of the two, and something on that, what Tecton originally was doing. So it is to provide, you want best door, you see a different color.
Right.
One area at the door, so it still achieves that functionally, it's just not having the more expensive material.
I'll take that one, I like that one.
The cap and the gym, these are the maple trim items, I'll also lump in this A20. We double checked the numbers and there wasn't a third item there to take as BE. So we're just talking about the gym and the calf. Basically, this is what the line item that eliminates the wood trim to a lesser extent at the cap and the sidewalls, to a greater extent above the stage. There's each one of these lines is a piece of wood. But keep a 35% allowance in both the gym and the calf to allow for transitions. Major wall elements. We're talking, just to clarify, on the wood component, eliminating that amount of quantity, there's not really a big savings difference to go from maple trim to something else as a trim. We did explore that option. So once you reduce the quantity, it really gets into labor driving. Was the option.
Save the 35% transitions, but
Right.
the ones up in the fields. You accept it? Yep.
Classrooms. This is also involves maple trim and it's $100,000 item. Tina, I don't know, it's like you can't see. We did have photos available or images available that kind of help illustrate what this looks like. Yeah, you're not gonna be able to see it. I can try to hack it.
That's okay.
But anyway, so at each of the classrooms, particularly at the teaching wall, rather than have a more traditional, you might have seen it in other places where you have a smart board and you have whiteboards on either side. This is a project that just recently completed. The Tecton design has the whiteboard material, the magnetic whiteboard is like a wall covering material that's more light and trim. And then there's various configurations of wall coverings on the side or technical wall coverings or what have you. But the idea is to not have these wall coverings and trim, but have the more traditional whiteboards and tackboards. So right now what's priced is having two standard magnetic vintage whiteboards and two tackboards in each room rather than wall coverings.
What like
I mean, honestly, if there's a Promethean board in between, you're not gonna be, like, look at the whiteboard beneath and under this, on this wall. You're not really gonna be using the whiteboard underneath it. You're gonna be using whiteboard on either side. So I would say save the money and put a board on either side. Instead of a computer, right? That will work.
Yeah, yeah. It's not gonna be pretty. Being basic. But it'll still serve.
Yeah, so functional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get somebody maybe better.
Yeah, I'd rather have stuff from home. So, yeah, accept that.
we accepted that one.
Bring up, bring up. All right, one of the items that data provided was that the windows, currently there's optical windows. This is the one where there's a potential law that didn't go through, so it's not wired, my understanding. So there's an option to have operable windows or not. There was a discussion about obviously just comfort, but also potential rescue assistance, that kind of discussion last night. So that number that came in from, you guys got a quote or something. Was 30. Nothing changes at the windows of that, they don't have the operable.
you accept it or put it yellow and move on. Sure,
Take it.
The only thing I would ask though is. Sometimes the legislature takes 2 or 3 years to pass a law. It gets shoved off for some reason or another, and it gets back in the following year. If it's likely that's going to become a law, if it was like a pet project of some of the legislators, are we better off leaving it in just as a hedge, because they might next year while we're in the middle of construction?
I'm sorry, in the path that traveled, before it was ultimately rejected, they put some modifiers on it that said in grant application after X amount of day, X date, which even if it was enacted again, they would probably still put that language in to say this law does not impact or affect anything prior to 2024.
Okay.
There we go. Move on.
Okay, big item, the roof. There's a proposal to reduce from 8 inches of insulation to 6 inches of insulation. We coordinated with Colo Ronan, that changes the EUI at approximately 0.1 EUI. The categorization from Craig was that there's diminishing returns on roof insulation by increasing your R value. So the blended
It
savings
was different, I'd say, hold it in, but accept that.
There you go. Woody says it on there.
Yeah, exactly. Diminishing returns, if I ever saw one.
Sure you don't want to think about that.
No, 78,000 extra geo would take about 50 years to make.
All right, the next one, this is the code modification for the firewall. That is to say that the current plans show the firewall as required by the interpretation of the code at the yellow items here. Tecton has been following up with the state. We did get some feedback that code modification request that would eliminate the need for the firewall should be coming this week. It's not been received as in this meeting. The group is cautiously optimistic that it will be accepted. It's been accepted on other projects. But it's just as a meeting, it's not been accepted. So
We can accept it.
We can adjust it.
still cautious. So if it gets denied, I'll let you all know.
Yeah.
But otherwise,
I have faith in our profession.
we'll confirm it.
This is one of those that if we weren't compelled to provide it, we would introduce it.
Right.
So. I mean, the argument is pretty solid. We, from a building, a fire area perspective, we need to count the second floor of the gymnasium and the cafeteria as floor space on our main level. So all the and what that does is it puts us over the threshold for allowable floor area for a floor. And so all of the code modification is asking is to discount those double height spaces as floor area for the second. And if done so, we meet the requirements of the fire area on the main level.
We already accepted that one.
Yeah.
Bill's got this. The next one should be very easy.
Yeah, I think that one.
Right, so all this one was, there was a confirmation that hurricane class was not required by code. It was priced as such in the estimate reconciliation. Confirmed that it was not needed, so.
Look at Jerry.
Nice.
That's a nice.
That's it.
Is that based on the linear distance from the coast? Well, so they took 1,500 feet within whatever.
This next one, there's no value, but it was a follow-on because it was shown at the last meeting. There wasn't any real rebar to be removed for standings after the structural engineering. All right, the next items are for the landscaping at site. So I'll show these and talk about it, and then I'll show the plans. First one is at south south entrance and the courtyard that currently shows higher premium finish, either color concrete or concrete pavers. The put back would be just a standard concrete sidewalk that you can see anywhere else. Second one is at the play areas, the basketball court, the four square. It's asphalt, but then the current drawings call for a color coating atop the asphalt. So this value for 19,000 is to keep your striping, keep your asphalt, but not have this coating on top of it. It's not a safety coating, it's an aesthetic coating. The third one.
And I assume that's something that when it needs to be recoded could be done at that time. Wouldn't make any difference, right?
You did that at the.
Like 5 years later. You know,
That's an easier one.
yes,
Yeah, I would say both of those are something you could make a decision on toward the end of the project. You want to incorporate. Yeah. Depending on the price of the tire on those, but that's one you could throw in.
The third one is some precast planters, which I'll show the graphic for. And the fourth one is a basic allowance that we don't have the specific scope for yet, but the target is 50,000. So showing what all those mean. For that first item for the pavers, that's at this location. And at the interior courtyard here. Second item, like I said, was at the basketball court, the colored coating here, and the 4 square coat. So instead, just have asphalt with striping. The third item is at this location, right outside one of the main entrances on the south. Right now, it's currently specified to be a fairly expensive precast planter. So instead, having 3 benches to provide the vehicular protection without it just being bollards. And some place to sit, but save a lot of potential money by having it just be the rectangular benches versus this precast planter. And then the final one, we're looking for civil and landscaping consultant to identify the best breakdown of what this $50,000 target trade allowance would be. The idea is to sort of spread it across the site in terms of reducing some plantings, either in caliber or number. Right now, there's a seating for older seating to be pulled out, which is extremely expensive. So the idea is targeted simple benches and planters versus the boulders. So again, we don't have a specific scope there. What this item would translate into is that some consultant would identify what the savings are, and then this group goes through the final drawings to see what the impact of this value engineering item is.
What percent of reduction of the value is that 50,000?
Of the total landscaping package?
Yeah, whatever items we have that handy.
$266 for plants and shrubs. So 50,000, shake it down, that's 20%.
And then, but that doesn't include some of the precast stuff because I'm kind of segment.
Sorry, no, that doesn't, I think it's just about that. Sorry,
We'll get to that. Well, I know they bought office, they have those stuff. With bills.
Do we
It'll
have
be
a
$100,000.
do we have a tree item on here?
What's that?
Do we have any trees, reduction in trees?
In the BE, there's currently no specific tree reduction called out. So this 50,000 encompasses
Whatever they.
potential trees or what have you across.
Removing some of the ones that.
That would turn this heavily to them.
No, 170 trees.
Right. So this one. Yeah. Okay, with that, think we can make it work? I don't want your name associated subject to this, but.
To the next point, the trees are easier to thank you for the job. All right, this one comes courtesy of Bill McMahon. For the IT card readers was basically to eliminate the card readers at the interior locations that the custodial staff access, janitorial closets, et cetera, because they're carrying keys anyway. It maintains the interior card readers, have the IDF room for Art Sickle and his IT folks. Their vendors. And it doesn't eliminate any of the exterior card readers. So that value is 40,000.
Good call. Yeah.
Good. Thank you. Good.
Well.
This one came from a discussion with Cole Ronan and Gilbane and Tecton, basically to no elimination of any of the piping itself, but to replace the materiality of the storm pipe from cast iron to PVC, still maintaining the insulation on the walls. It's just material swell. Again, these two gray items were a follow-on from last meeting where reducing the amount of duct lining or the duct runs after coordination with Full Roman wasn't going to yield savings. However, one that is a large chunk of money is to change right now in the classrooms, there's a linear diffuser for your HVAC near the windows. So between some of the scope that Cobain identified and some of the items that Cole and Ronan wanted to maintain for not having to redesign the entire mechanical system was to change it from that linear diffuser to our 2x2 or standard diffuser near the windows, and changing some of the ducting from hard duct to the flexible duct. And that's a $73,000 savings.
So it'll be more like these in here.
Yes.
Pretty ugly. Next to the window.
So based on discussions with Cole Roman, we've had yesterday and today on what their thought process was for putting this back, I do think that number is the margin probably in the 85 to 90 range. Just to throw that out there. It was a tough one to put a number to it without really understanding what was going to go back. So we made our best guess. Talking with Cole Roman, I think that number's 10 to 15.
Let's see where we are.
1.75.
You gotta take those 90,000, 70,000 and everything.
So the yellow ones that were left were 63, there were 4 left. 70,000 for the graphic form protection.
No. We're close enough, come on. Where's the other stuff instead?
The acoustic ceiling at that hallway
Yeah.
is $6,000 at the exterior stairwell for that low glazing. And the media center type.
Yeah, I'm thinking that one can go, you know, I don't think. What are the actual odds of someone scaling the building, going across the roof with enough equipment to break through a tempered glass window without being seen? I mean, I think that one can be accepted. I don't think that's really a security issue. Once it's.
Can't quantify a single see. You know, this one is what's degraded and this one's not, or this one's intrusion graded. So they will have to be in the building, they have no idea.
No, it's not gonna affect it. I mean, I really doubt anybody is going to scale the building across the roof. And if it's tempered glass, they're still gonna have to whack it pretty hard to get through. And they're gonna have to, they're not doing it with their fists, they're doing it with something that they're carrying. I mean,
People carry or piercing, you know.
up and over the roof. I know, but surely someone's gonna see it.
Get through this tempered glass.
Right,
The one thing is gonna hold up.
Right.
Yeah, they get 40.
yeah, I mean, but just logistically, I mean, why would we spend $27,000 for the interior courtyard exterior windows that you can't get to without scaling the exterior of the building, going across the roof and going down into the courtyard? To me, that is just kind of ridiculous. I mean,
Doors from the courtyard also swing in and they're, we must unlock at all times.
We do need to provide egress from the courtyard into the building.
Right, so they're gonna swing in, so
So if they get over into the courtyard, there's
They
no
get-
point going to the security guys and they can just.
open the door and come in, so, yeah.
Well, I think I'll have to verify, but if, as long as we're under a certain amount of occupants, we don't have to have, egress hardware on it.
Earlier, there's hard readers.
Yeah.
But still, I think it's an expense we don't need to take on personally.
How tall are the windows?
They're substantial. They're floor to
They're letting light in, I mean, every
Can we
day,
do the first 5 feet? And if
That's,
they separated, I don't, I,
that's effectively what's there now, so, right now, we're talking about, this is what the ceiling is, this up here is not. So your idea is to run.
it's already incorporated, yeah,
incorporated, okay.
but it seems to me that. I don't know, it just seems like a lot of money for something that it's not necessary. I think we have bigger problems with people with guns or scaling our buildings and climbing across the roof and down into the dirt. So, I mean, I'm not gonna design a prison for my kids or any kids. It's ridiculous, I would have.
I didn't mention the card readers, those are on the corridor side, in order to access. Direct out the other way around.
Technically, we're supposed to be talking about this.
Right. There's a reason why I don't want to like show. the-
Yeah. No, probably, I mean, we could ask the public safety people in town, you know, if you want to, but I don't know if it's the state public standards, I doubt that courtyards are discussed. What is this, the official state requirement, you know, in the wording of the ballistic glass, what that, how that reads or how that.
It's at entrances, and I think it's pretty silent on courtyards. I mean, the other thing, frankly, with interior courtyards, the concern is more somebody getting into the building off hours, right? You have an entire security network of cameras, et cetera, that will be able to identify somebody approaching and say, I don't know how far you want, how far down this road you want.
Move on, accept it and move on.
Yeah, that's all right,
Let's-
except that you want.
And, so with that now, right here, what the general decision maker is sort of thing. Maybe an easier one, the stairwell.
Yeah.
That's the top of it.
That's the bottom.
Yeah, the bottom, so the first floor. The doors going to the exterior out of that stairwell are solid. They go to the, that go out of the stairwell to the exterior are storefronts, so,
I can tell you,
because then you would have glass light coming in to that stairwell at that lower level, so to eliminate the glass would not be a big deal.
The acoustic ceilings of those hallways, those that are curved.
Now where are we?
That was so close, it's almost like we have to get. finished.
No,
You gotta give them-
those graphic walls.
What's the, did you get 20?
so there is glazing.
Those doors.
Well, there's 80, you gotta take the 70 out.
No.
Or we can put it in.
If just another, there's an opportunity also for a percentage, so if this is eliminate 50% of them, design team. Comment on which might be approved, I don't know if that's. makes
How
sense.
many are there? Yeah. One.
There's $70,000.
But we didn't decide yet, because it was- I heard back and forth. And I'm
So where are we with that?
That's what they're saying.
Where,
That's.
we can have a formal vote on it, or we could defer to the safety professional of the town.
I mean,
Get their opinion on
it
that.
seems like the bulk of us want to accept that, so I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would accept it unless.
If I'm the only
safety
one,
professionals
then I'm,
say-
you know, I'm happy to reverse.
Yeah.
In the spirit of it, and then we can leave in Aaron's walls and we're done.
Reduce the walls.
Yeah, center walls.
There
Where,
is,
where are we now at?
We're 40,000 short.
Go to the bottom.
Oh, come on, that's
1%.
that's closer than I thought we'd get.
Yeah, no.
It's less than 1%. 1%.
How about if we just take enough to get to zero, we'll have, keep it in the job, put some of it back in. Easier if it's on the job, you
Yeah.
know, to make it, put it in here.
It's a big one.
Let's take 50,000 out, we'll leave some in, and then we'll. Justin can decide where the critical, he'll spend more time, he'll spend more time figuring out what's going on.
You know, we only have to be super close.
So, this is. Yeah.
Wait a second, if we had to be 100%, you should have told us we would accept everything and be done with it. Because that's what we are.
Sounds project and money. I'm just working.
So we were within 50 grand.
Yeah.
I think that's close enough. I don't know.
If I
Thank
may,
you. I mean,
I could be the voice on the other shoulder, is that you've already reduced the large amount of your owner contingency just to get to this point.
yeah.
So there really isn't much margin, if any, for error on the day.
So maybe we should take it in, I promise you, if by some miracle we open up 100 grand under, we'll have to revisit this discussion. Early, because we need to get
How
it.
about that's something we take out easily if the bids come in too high? The other way around.
You'll get a reduced credit on.
I
Yeah.
know, I have.
Absolutely.
We're taking, in terms of trim, we're taking out all the niceties. This is one nicety that would have a really big impact on the site, the kids walking down the hall, on everybody. I really do feel strongly about this one.
In terms of quantity, what this 70,000 represents, it's approximately 2,900 square feet. These are 10-foot ceilings. I have to subtract out the gym. So about 2,900 square feet, so it's about 290 lineal feet across the building and various hallways.
So that's a lot.
Yeah, so let's do half.
We can reduce it.
Half, you know, 3 or 4 spots, that's fine.
Like,
Yeah,
keep
that's
it
all you
in
really
each
need.
area,
More than
we're
that.
gonna be doing it like in each of the different areas that have different colors, schemes or whatever.
Yes.
So, okay, so I will concede to cutting it in half, and I trust our design professionals to do a good job in putting it where it needs to be. And if we come in more money, we're gonna go back.
You just stretch them. We can warm it up.
I think those are really nice features they are, and I really feel that that will be a super impactful $35,000.
Yeah, 135 feet, perfect.
Okay.
There we go.
Sounds like a lot.
Begrudgingly accept.
Roll, please.
Yeah. We messed up the calculation.
No, 50%.
There you go. Now we got it all.
So we are.
Oh,
There you go. Good job. Okay.
What do we have to spend?
Colors patented spreadsheet turns green.
Good job.
Yay.
All right. So do we have to vote on this?
yes.
Yes.
I make a motion that we do this.
I'll second it.
We accept
All
that.
right. Did you
Green.
get that?
Get that paraphrase?
Yeah, sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sharon made the motion, Woody seconded.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Item number 6, discussion of future meetings and schedules. Yes.
So maintain the theme of this screen share here as a screen. So tonight we're going to run our special meeting here. Next week is when the regularly scheduled meeting is. There won't be much by way of updates or anything by the 16th, so that might be an opportunity to cancel that meeting. On the 17th, the intention is to provide Board of Education with an update on what the plans are and to walk through, so that way, when they ultimately make their motion to approve that Justin was alluding to, they're not just blind as to what the drawings are. Just to mention, the target for some of the initial document updates, namely comment responses and the building code official formal comments, started for the 20th. So during this week, there'll be some meetings with Gervain and TechDon. Likely look for some of those building official sign-offs between this week and end of October, beginning of November. The potential meeting here, the intent is to have a similar update for this group that the Board of Education gets, but the intent is that the value engineering as well as the updates would be should be done by the end of the month. So that this group sees it, walks through, sees what the changes are. If there's any other last comments or questions or concerns that arise, that would be the meeting schedule for that. And then in November is when we have our approval meetings. So currently the SBC has meetings scheduled for the 6th. If the 6th is too soon for some reason, you could potentially have a special meeting on the 13th. The Board of Education is sort of flip-flopped where they have a regular meeting on the 14th. I understand there might be some elections and things going on at that meeting, so coordinating with Seth and Dr. Cook. So about how this approval process wants to look for the Board of Education side of things. And then as of today, this is no longer a target, real big 15. And then again, just putting this in here for the second meeting of the month. It's the phase 1 package is all bid out and ready for approval. Perhaps that'll be at that meeting. And then getting the drawings out to bid, target is the end of the month. Any questions on that?
No, should we vote or just cancel the 16th and add the 30th? Do it.
Yeah, I'm all for cancel the 16th.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Next one is any more public comment? Anyone in the public?
No, but I have a comment. I don't know who needs to approve this, but what I'd like to do is take a bulleted list of all the things that we cut based on the fact that we had to cut them because it didn't get passed. And I would like to make that public in a succinct, understandable way for the public so that they can see what the failure of this vote has done to our school. I've taken some notes in my own in what's made sense to me, but it would be great to, run that by a few folks and maybe put a little bit of meat to it. If that is okay with the committee, I would then like to pass it on to Ben Rainier with the source and get it on Facebook and let the public know what we've had to cut.
Are you planning on doing this before or after the election?
Well, I'd have
I'm trying not to get political about it. I mean, I'm just.
well, I have my own political thoughts as to what I would love to add in there, but I will refrain from doing that. I mean, timing wise, I had no sense of timing. I just think it's important information to get out there to folks in town, especially when they, are going to walk into this building and wonder why it looks the way it looks in some regards.
I don't think I disagree, I just rather not get into a, you know, the week before the election, letter writing. You know, acrimony kind of thing. Some of you are running for election, so I would do.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I totally agree, Tina. I think it's whenever it happens, and I agree, it probably should happen after the election, but it should be illustrated to the public what you all did tonight. I mean, it's not easy what you did. I saw you grapple with it all. It's a difficult decision, and it's for no other reason. The public should know that this is not taken lightly, and that a lot of work was into this, a lot of hard decision making, and that you guys kept the kids and learning and education at the forefront of every decision. Is huge. So I do think it should be.
Probably isn't a bad thing.
And maybe it's Graham's the person of the week and
Yeah. I like
and talks about it there, but Mr. Donahue. I mean, being the chair of CIP for many years, I know how difficult it is to look at your friends and neighbors and have to say, we just don't have the money for that right now. So it's not easy. And so I totally agree with Tina. It should be recognized.
Yeah, I think it makes sense.
And the hardest part of this, in my opinion, is that we did have the money.
Well,
All we
agreed.
had to do was move it from A to B.
Agreed. We had already
We had the money.
paid money. I know. Listen. There was a
If we
lot
didn't
of
have the money,
shenanigans
it'd be
that went
like-
into the no vote,
Right.
and that's not lost on me. But I do think it will look like gamesmanship if you're doing it right now, and it's
So
not
it's a
good luck.
precipitated response, then it's not.
You guys have been
Yeah.
exceedingly professional despite what you were handed.
And if I may just comment on that as well, I mean, that, it's not lost on me that in the middle of the summer, 254 people who were exercised about any additional spending or if it organized and come out. That said, that's what happened. That's the reality we're living with. Given that reality, I absolutely agree that I'm not taking a position on the timing, but I do feel that among those 254 people, a lot of people are claiming that that there's not a lot of transparency, and that aside from public meetings that are well documented and noticed in advance, they feel that they expressed that they felt that this project was not getting enough sunlight, and that was some of the battle cry that they brought to that July 24th meeting. So I do think we owe it to the public to be transparent as to the work that was done here on value engineering and these reductions. I do also want to echo what was said, and on behalf of the Board of Ed and the district, thank you wholeheartedly for taking reductions that were not aimed at education at all and programming. I think you did a great job taking reductions that are not going to hurt education, and that's greatly appreciated. Thank you.
With regard to the list itself, as with schematic design and design development, the spreadsheet, finalize it, header on top, that gets one part of the committee packet. So at a minimum, after this meeting, it'll be published. To the point I think Tina was talking about for something more simplistic, I can work with Graham on distilling that from a spreadsheet with numbers, separates, whatever, into something simple.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bullet point.
Maybe don't list everything if there are things you think they have.
Nothing really published about.
Consolidated, yeah, details.
Yeah, consolidating site work. being
Yeah.
totally
Yeah.
done on that, right, or whatever, replace and total stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The task itself is simple. So,
To that point, Adam, maybe we combine kind of the simplistic bullet points I put together as just not somebody in the industry to understand it, and we supply that along with your kind of meat details or version of it, kind of high level, low level.
Yep, that makes sense.
I think that in doing so, after the elections and stuff like that, it's really appropriate in that, you know, over the years, we've heard all the feedback about the high school. If you know the real history of the high school and what the community put into it, people put into it, we did a fabulous job. The amount of money that was allocated and the space that was allocated to do that. So I think it's really important. It gets a lot of bad rap.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of great work that was done that was.
I kind of, but the chairman, don't think he came to me at that meeting, across the way there. She was really very upset that she'd been like bashed in the press and, oh, that she, she put 2 or 3 years of her life in that project, 4, 5. How it's,
It's the results of what the public has charged us to do.
Right, exactly. And ironically, on that Bristol High School, the same thing happened and turned it down. It was going to be a $50 million high school. And the exact same tactics were used to turn it down. That was on that building committee, and then it came back with a $40 million school that made $10 million in concessions.
I think it's important.
Yeah. You're right, yeah.
Good point, Tina, thank you.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
All right.
Any other items anyone wants to?
Any other public, Raquel? Must not be.
I think that is enough.
That is a no, thank you very much. Anyone want any other items, or anyone make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, George?
That's good.
Get the job done.
Next meeting.
Thank you.
All right, so no next week. Meeting.
We'll next week, and we're,
See you on
Thursday, the one shot I pocket. Yeah, just call it. Yeah.
Oh, that was fun.
Thank you guys for all your hard work.
Thanks, man.